Hi, I'm Matt Greenhouse with NASA's James Webb Space Telescope project. I'll be talking about the James Webb Space Telescope mission.
Kind of like a primordial Earth, sort of like an older Earth prior to a lot of the life forms. Like there are large-scale mountain ranges and huge lakes and whatnot.
As a kid, I was always interested in anything related to space, so I would constantly be reading books about the solar system.
Hello sir, my name is from St. Paul School, grade 5th. My question is, was Venus born before or after Earth? Please provide your inputs. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a great honor to be here with you today, and I'm excited for fruitful discussions ahead. Before we proceed, I would like to elaborate on the context behind this Indo-Finnish conference. So essentially, we provide a platform to global educators to collaborate and exchange their best practices to nurture curiosity as well as pandemic experiences. And the format is series. So far, we've conducted over 250 such Indo-Finnish conferences, and we're extremely fortunate to be awarded by the Finnish Education Ministry for this particular initiative. As you know, the conference are being published on our YouTube channel, where we have an established community of more than 1,000 students. And it's an interesting fact that we've managed to spread the initiative across 11 countries so far, but of course we're expanding the scope of this practice. So again, many thanks for being here with us today. Now, another round of warm welcomings to the keynote speakers. We have Alejandra Chavez. Welcome, Mom. She's an international educator and principal with 30 years of educational experience. It's a pleasure to have you. We have Dr. Swarup Dutta. Welcome, sir. He's the principal of MSM English School, Malkapur, and the master trainer of CBSE. It's an honor to have you here with us. And last but not least, we have Alka Singh. Welcome, Mom. She's the principal of the Model School Sector 4, Gurugram. So I would like to kickstart the discussion, and I'll do so by posing an ice-breaking question, which is precisely why you have decided to embark on a career in the field of education, and what were your initial motives to do so. So I will give the floor to Alka, Mom. Could you please share with us your personal journey of becoming an educator? Thank you.
This is a question for Alka, ma'am, right?
Yes, Alka, Mom, could you please share with us your personal journey? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, dear. Good evening, everyone. When we talk about the journey of being an educator, I think it started long back. I'm an army officer's daughter, and I would see my father going for operations, and that was a time, there was this thought always which would come, why there's a war? Why do they need to go for all these wars? And somewhere when we had these conversations, my father would say it's always in the mind of people, when we talk about the war, it's not, which is fought just like that. So I think that's where this thought came, saying, should we work on the minds of people? And as I kept growing, this thought was very, very strong for me. And that's the time I thought that, yes, in the minds of the people, I think we can find peace. So let's work. And I think when we talk about people, even if I'm talking to Swarup sir or Dia or everyone out here, so I would say that, people do not remember things happening around, or maybe, neighbors, but they never forget the school teachers and the professors, the kind of impact what they have. So I think my father's profession and the impact of my teachers on my life made me very clear that, yes, this is what I want in my life. And somewhere for me, it is not just a profession, it's a mission for me. If you look at it, it's not like any job what we do. I think it's divine. When we are dealing with humans, we are dealing with souls. And when we say it's a mission, so it's like a calling which is there. And believe me, when I'm working, it's like almost 33 years I'm there in this profession. And when I started with my journey with St. Michael's Academy, Chennai, from there till where I am today, morning when I get up and I want to move out. So there's so much of excitement in me. It's like a childlike excitement which says, okay, yes, I need to go and work. And a profession where we say we are dealing with young minds. For years, I've seen that one statement made by us, I think knowingly, unknowingly, makes a life. At times breaks a life too. So we have to be super cautious. But let's talk about positive. So, you're building the character building of the nation, character building of a child. That's what you're contributing to. So that's what excites me a lot. It's been years where you say that, the moment you walk into a school, any school, it's that meditative space, what I feel, what I experience, and which makes this journey of 32 years like a 32 seconds journey. There are times at home also I keep sharing, wish, they were not just 24 hours. There was so much more what you can do to bring about a change, I would say, nurture the values, the choices, the progression of children. So that's what makes me an educator. For me, it is like a 24/7 learning space. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alka Mom, for sharing your personal journey with us. I would like to express my sincere appreciation for you and your efforts to take this mission to change the perception of war and to impact humanity in a better way for a better future. That is truly, highest virtue possible. So thanks a lot for sharing. I would now like to give the floor to Dr. Swarup, sir. Could you please share with us your personal journey and your reasons to become an educator? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I didn't start off as an educator. I'm basically a doctor, and after I passed out, I started my practice, as well as I was working in a pharmaceutical company. I grew to the position of vice president of that company. Now, my journey towards shifting towards education has a story. So it goes like this. I once got a letter from one of the drug authorities that one of our medicines is not complying with the Magic Remedies Act. What that exactly is, for example, you cannot claim a few things, that I can make someone tall, or I can make hair grow on bald head, things like that. So I went to meet this director of one of the states, drug director. And then when I met him, I carried with me a bunch of books. These are pharmacopoeias, to make him understand that what we are doing is following the pharmacopoeia of the country. But when I went over there, the person in a very rude manner asked me to keep my book down and asked for how much we spend on advertisement of that particular product. So when I told him it's 1 lakh rupees per advertisement, so he calculated very quickly that 2 ads in a week, that is 8 in a month, and that means 12 into 8, 96 lakhs you spend in an entire year. So give us 10% and run the product in the state. No one will ask you anything. I said, I have the books. I want to show you something before you want to, tell me all these things. He said, who wants to see the books? Give it out. I have to pay the money till the very top. Now, I told him at that point in time that, I'm terminating my entire team of this particular state. I will be shifting them to another state, but I'll not pay you a single penny. And then when I went back to my office, my managing director asked me, it was not a very big amount. Why I didn't compromise? I could have paid that money and wrapped it off all over. Then I felt something in me stopped me from doing that. And what was that? That was the values that were given to me in school. And that point in time, probably was a transition phase of my life when I decided I'll not spend my entire life chasing turnover and money. I will do something, to make things happen a little bit differently for me and for the world around me. Maybe I cannot change the entire nation or the entire world, but even if I contribute in a small way, transform even 10 children in my life, I will die a happier man. And probably I will be sleeping much better than what I do with a lot of money that I have, right? So basically my journey to education was to create the future world that I want to live in. I didn't depend on anyone else. I thought of, if I want to live in a world and that world is going to look like this, someone has to take the onus to build that world, right? So I felt the teachers are the ones who can do it. So at that point in time, I left my very good salary, handsome salary package, and started working in a school for not even 1/5 of my entire salary. That was the time that I shifted to education, and I'm happy today that I made the right move.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Swarup, sir, for sharing your personal story. Again, extremely inspirational, and I highly admire this value system of yours and this commitment to give back to society and mold a better future. Thank you for sharing. And last but not least, Alejandra, Mom, could you please share with us your personal journey of becoming an educator? Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Lovely stories. Very inspiring. 30 years ago, I walked into a grade 1 class as the art teacher, and I fell in love with teaching. I fell in love with children. I fell in love with working with them, creating with them, building with them, painting with them, drawing with them, and empowering them. And even though I was studying a different career at the time, I knew that teaching was what I wanted to do. So I got a master's in international education and then took off around the world for 30 years, mainly as an art teacher with the lower grades. And then along the way, I also became a principal. I've been in 7 different countries, mainly the American curriculum and the IB curriculum. And it's all been just wonderful. I mean, I think our profession is so beautiful. Not only do we teach children, but they teach us. You know, we are always learning, and there's never a dull moment. So I think this has been such a great fit for me. And also working with teachers too, and empowering teachers to be better teachers has been very, very rewarding. Last year, I retired from education to pursue my dream of creating an academy for girls that uses art to empower them. So I will forever be connected with kids and art and empowerment, and it's just been 30 years have gone by so quickly, but it's been a great joy.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alejandra, Mom, for sharing your interesting journey with us. It seems to me that no matter how you started, the whys are more or less the same, and all 3 of you share this passion for students and feel like it is such a rewarding occupation, not necessarily in monetary terms, but as mentioned, it's a space where you learn forever and you never feel old. So what more to ask for? Knowing you and your long careers, I'm curious to hear more about your pedagogical methods and practices. And this is precisely the core of the discussion. The past 2 years have been challenging for the education sector, and the pandemic took us by surprise no matter where we were in the world. So I'm going to ask for your best methods and practices to nurture curiosity, but not in general terms, more during the virtual classroom and the environment surrounding the pandemic. So I would like to give the floor to Alka, Mom. Could you please share with us your initiatives and best methods and practices to nurture curiosity among students within the digital classroom? Thank you.
Thank you. When we started off with the online classes and went on the online mode, for us there was nothing new because we were already doing that. And few things what I think each educationist also thought was the same for us is that how much time can a child be seated in front of a screen, and what is the way that we can capture his attention for 35 minutes or let's say 40 minutes. We are basically our classes were on Zoom, although we are a Microsoft school and we had Teams also. So the first thing, we had a brainstorming session with our teachers saying, okay, what can be done? So we said, we teach a topic, what are the way we're going to teach us? So that's the time we said we're going to share videos a day prior with the students and related to that topic, and let the child, let it be a flip learning. Let the child be taking that initiative. So that was one of the initiatives, and it really worked well. Second was because our students have artificial intelligence, like the many of them who are taking it up, and they're very sound with the IT skills. So we started off with gamification, which we are already doing. Our school for last 3 years, we are into design thinking. So we're having the design challenges. So we ask those students also to participate, and the teachers also. So a gamification, like let's say we take up a topic and we put up on the screen a game, and we say, okay, we are all going to play, and this is a score what we are going to actually count for. So that made it interesting for the students, to take it up. So that was another initiative. The third was that we made, apart from the normal classes, we asked the class teachers to connect with the students of a group of 13. It was 13-1, 13 students and one teacher, and 20 minutes is what they would have. Just a general chit-chat session. In that, what is more important, I think, for each of the educationists over here is to nurture the curiosity. And when we talk about nurturing the curiosity, we have to make sure that the learners are curious about the subject we're going to teach, and that learning experience has to be saying a wow moment kind of experience. So we said, in those 20-minute session, don't talk about the teaching part, but talk about the 5 whys, W's always. Who, what, when, where, why, what we generally take up for all the projects. We say these 5 W's, keep talking, okay, whatever question, and say, okay, these 5 whys, W's, sorry. And whenever in the class, let them ask n number of questions. Believe me, I'm sure all of us would agree. It is mind-boggling when you have those 30 students on the screen and all of them, they want to ask the questions. So I would continuously tell my teachers, be patient. We need to listen to all of them. We are not going to say, okay, keep quiet or mute them. Not allowed at all. The curiosity has to be nurtured at that time. So this was another initiative. We had our student council, which is like, we have 2 student councils. One is for the primary wing. Our school is from grade 3 to grade 12. One is from the senior wing. So we roped them in, and we had continuously events with panel discussions, right? With the small little ones. We had the online MUN, Model United Nations Conference, right? And apart from that, what I was talking about, the design challenge, we had 3 rounds of design challenge, and proudly I would say right now, many of our students have been able to actually, nurture that particular idea in such a manner that there are 3 startups which have started in our school, and one of them have also got an angel investor. So that's where, you give that space, you give that, complete self-expression space to the child. And the curiosity is automatically nurtured. The moment you give boundaries to a child, you are going to speak only for 2 minutes. You can ask only 2 questions. So all that has to be nullified completely. It has to be where you take up initiatives where the child's flip learning worked the best for us in the beginning. Now it's like a trend, but offline we would do it, but online was something where we thought the kind of videos, the kind of PPTs, what they would create was amazing. So these are different ways, where we always keep talking about telling the students, whatever they're doing, whatever, keep encouraging them, encouraging the interest in the sessions, keep talking to them, encourage more reading. Our library is like e-library. Today only my librarian was saying 11,000 hits to their e-library. So that's again nurturing, they read and the curiosity is there. And online experiments. We did experiments even in the first wave of pandemic when everything shut down all of a sudden. We have done experiments with the things what they have in kitchen, and beautiful, amazing science experiments. Like we didn't want the parents to go out and get anything. We said whatever we have. So that's, these are different ways when we say, and always in the conversations, if as an educational, it's okay, what if this happens? So you tell, This should be the kind of conversation when you're teaching. I even as a principal, I take economics, grade 12 economics. There also, constantly I kept telling them, see, in the pandemic, can you see the GDP of India going down? Okay, what if we do this? RBI, our central bank, they were taking steps. So again, we said, okay, what if this happens? So that what if, why, what? So all these things, who's going to do it? How are we going to do it? So all these things which created curiosity, these were certain initiatives what we had taken. There's a long list we can keep, because we, like I would proudly say that Bluebells Model School, we have been ranked as top 4 schools for design thinking. Last year in pandemic, we were all India top 1 for the STEAM education. So that's how, all this comes about only, I think, thanks to the online teaching and the pandemic. We were already doing it, but it accelerated the whole process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alka Mom, for sharing your pandemic experience with us. It seems to me that you've handled the situation beautifully thanks to your preparedness prior to the pandemic. And I would like to congratulate you for your achievements and for what you're doing with your students. It's impressive. I would now like to give the floor to Dr. Swarup, sir. Could you please share with us your methods, the initiatives, and best practices you've adopted during the pandemic to nurture curiosity among students?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I believe that you do not need to, ignite that curiosity in the children. It's already there. I'll just give an example. You make a teacher walk into any class and, maybe take a teaching aid along and put it on the table and not use it. At the end of the class, you will understand what curiosity is all about. If you're not using it, the children will point it out and what it was all about. So curiosity is natural to children. So what we need to do is just give it a direction. So during the pandemic, apart from the technical sides of getting the platform of online classes ready and training the teachers how to use it and the different tools and techniques that we use for online classes, basically what we did was during this pandemic itself, the new National Policy of Education was released by the government. So the new National Policy of Education stated a few big changes that is happening in our country. And one of those changes is making the child future ready. Now, what we talk about future ready, what exactly it is? We are, in a world which is a VUCA world, and trend analyzers are telling that 85% of the children who are studying in schools right now will work in jobs that does not exist yet. In that case, what we are preparing the children for? It's an uncertain future, right? So then we thought of what are the skill sets that we need to give to the children in this 21st century. And probably the pandemic gave us enough time to think about it, plan it, and implement it. So one thing that we came to know about, few careers are going to be there, which is immune to robots taking over. Anything that is repetitive, anything that is routine is going to be taken over by robots because they can do it much better than humans. Then what remains for humans to do? The first thing is anything that involves creativity. Creativity, though robots with artificial intelligence can draw pictures and right now write poems as well, but they cannot replace human as creative entities. So creativity is something that we need to promote. The second thing is something that is related to being a human. For example, if there's a business deal that is happening between two big business organizations, no matter how good their robots are, they will not send two robots to sign a deal. They will send humans because there are certain qualities in humans that the robots do not have. So that human side of the student needs to be built up. And the third point is emergency problem solving. Jobs like plumbing, electricians. So here is a new stream that opens up for vocational education, skill education. And to build these skills up, what is the easiest way to do it? It is said that even before you go for things like, we all believe that coding is an in thing. The national policy talks about coding should be implemented in all classes. But even before coding, there is something called computational thinking, which every school needs to understand. And that is what we did in the entire pandemic, try to implement that computational thinking in the children. For that, you don't need, fancy teaching aids. There are 4 components of computational thinking. That is the decomposition, the pattern recognition, the abstraction, and the algorithm. So if these 4 things are, delivered to the kids in form of activities, which we did in the pandemic. For example, let's say abstraction. We played a game called Dumb Charades. You must have heard about it. You enact without telling the name of a movie or a name of a topic, and others have to guess it. So, simple things like this, which was done online. You make a plan to go to a movie theater. That's all about breaking down the entire problem into small components, and a child narrating what are the things, how he will go to the movie theater, how he will buy a ticket, where he will get the money from, what will be the mode of conveyance. So all these things broken down into small components, the child was able to narrate it over the online classes, and it was very active. And this computational thinking probably helped the child to understand how to approach the textbooks as well. So textbooks were no more a priority during the lockdown phase. We have seen the assessment pattern taking a big shift from what it is in India right now. So during the pandemic itself, we have changed the assessment radically. We have introduced competency-based assessment in the schools. Competency-based assessment was something that most educators heard of, but never implemented it at the school level, at least in this part of the country that I'm living in. So by introducing competency-based education and competency-based assessment, we were able to tell the child, you need to demonstrate your learning. For example, a child knows, we want to test if the child can bicycle. He can ride a bicycle, right? Now, earlier we used to ask the child to write an essay about the bicycle, how he will ride it. So the child may be poor in writing an essay, but he knows how to ride the bicycle. So now we told him that to demonstrate that you know how to ride a bicycle, you ride in front of me and show it to me. That's it. So that was competency-based assessment. In whatever way you can convince that you know the topic, do that. So when that was happening online, there was a radical shift from that, rote learning to learning for the sake of learning. So that was the shift that we were able to do it in the pandemic, despite not having the physical classes, despite we being connected virtually, a lot of children turning their cameras off during the classes. Despite all these challenges, in these 2 years, probably, if I can state that, I think I can safely tell that whatever we achieved in the last 5 years or 6 years, we have been able to do in the last 1.5 years. So that was the shift that we made in the terms of education, from very, very rote learning to competency-based.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Swarup, sir, for sharing your pandemic experience and your insights about the future. Extremely relevant topic. And I also agree with the major breakthrough and the revolution that this pandemic has brought into the education sector. So thanks a lot for sharing with us. And Alejandra, Mom, I would kindly ask you to share with us your pandemic experience in your best methods and practices which were adopted during this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, in addition to what my two colleagues, I think we all went through the same experience in terms of the pandemic. There was a big learning curve, then kind of things normalized a little as we were trying to figure things out. I was in Singapore at the time of the pandemic, so luckily for us, the lockdown period was very short. So the pandemic hit, we were almost at the end of the school year, we had a foundation of learning, and then the following school year, we went back face-to-face with sporadic, online little moments, but everything basically went back on face-to-face. What we decided to do was focus on the social emotional well-being of the students and the teachers as they were transitioning into this new normal. Students were very happy to be online, but again, once things became, dragged on a little bit, they wanted to be back in the classroom, they wanted their routines, they wanted their teacher, they wanted their friends. Most importantly, they wanted to be with their friends, right? Parents were struggling as well because they also had to teach, they had to work at home, plus suddenly co-teach. So what I do think is a good thing that's come from this is that parents have gotten a very close-up look at the life of a teacher. And I think there is way more respect for teachers now than ever before. So that has been a positive. But yeah, I think the big challenge that I saw, and as I listened to colleagues and friends from around the world, is that we were trying to teachers were teaching the same way they did in the classroom and trying to replicate on the online platform. We can't do that anymore. Everything has changed. We need to teach differently, engage differently, assess differently. I liked what I heard from my colleague of, his breakthrough with assessment. Everything has changed. And we don't know what the future holds. We don't even know, what education is going to look like. Face-to-face, hybrid, online. Nothing is certain. And I think COVID's going to be around for quite a while in different forms. So we need to prepare our students in a very different way for that future, to be ready for anything that comes their way. So, but the social emotional aspect of well-being is very, very important, because without it, there's no curiosity, there's no desire to learn. We need to really make sure that we're supporting teachers to be able to teach and engage their students, but also the students.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alejandra Mom, for sharing your pandemic experience and insights. I'm so glad that you managed to focus on the social emotional aspect of this challenging times for students, because, as human beings, we had these emotions. So while we're still on the positive side of the pandemic and its positive impact on education, I would like to bring your attention to a vision for utopian education system. And I would take the chance to reverse the order of speakers here. So Alejandra Mom, please, based on your pandemic experience, briefly share with us your dream for Utopia. Thank you.
Okay, so like I said, things have changed. We need to change, and it's been a good opportunity for us. The pandemic has been a good disruptor for the education world. Because everybody now is upskilled and ready to go very, very quickly. So here's what I would love to see. I would love to see less focus on grading and assessment and standardized testing as what defines a student. And I want to see a greater focus on helping students as early as possible to start identifying their strengths and their passions, and create curriculum and lesson planning around those passions and support students learning that way. Right now, teachers aren't alone anymore. Look at us. First of all, we are collaborating right now online. Kids have the opportunity now to learn in so many different ways. The teacher isn't the only teacher, I'm saying. So if a student loves painting, drawing, if they love music or wants to be an astronaut, loves everything about the solar system. There are so many great applications and programs that can support those passions early on, and the teacher has access to all of that. We just need to be able to make sure that we're using good applications and technology in a very mindful and purposeful way that supports the student. That's always the student, right? Student-centered. So that's number one, passion, lots of creativity, project-based collaboration. I'm a huge fan of collaboration. Collaboration is so, so important. It moves away from competition, and it's problem solving. It is curiosity. It nurtures all of that. And that's the future. We need to collaborate, especially now more than ever, and values-based. We need to be teaching our students those important life skills that help them to be happy, that help them to be lifelong learners, resilient, risk takers, problem solvers, so that they are ready with those important skills for whatever comes next. So I could talk about this forever, so I'm going to let my two colleagues keep adding to the vision.
Dear ma'am, you're muted. You need to unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Alejandra Mom, for sharing your vision with us. Very well said. And I would like to give the floor to Dr. Swarup sir now. Could you please share with us your vision for Utopia? Thank you. Dr. Swarup, you're now.
I just need to unmute yourself, yeah. So I would agree with what Alejandra ma'am said right now, that the pandemic had been a good disruptor. Now, during the pandemic, we realized things that we thought were important were not so important. The definition of importance has changed in everyone's lives. We have seen death so closely that the definition of life has changed. Now, with this understanding, I belong to a country where spirituality is a part of our lives, right? So, education for me in terms of Utopia is discovering who am I? Am I the body or the body is mine? That is a question that I would like to ask. So when I am trying to discover who am I, what are the gifts that I'm born with, and how I will deliver my gifts to the rest of the world, that should be the journey of every individual. First, understanding oneself, understanding the gifts born with, and how to give these gifts to the entire world. There cannot be any other way of the life's journey. So when we do that, when we try to discover who we are really, that time learning becomes effortless. So in utopian language, in utopian thought process, I would say that learning should be effortless, and learning should be to learn, not to get assessed. Assessment can be just a check. We stop and check at times. For example, when we're traveling by a train, we stop and check which station is it. But that is not the journey. Neither that is the destination. So assessment can be just a check. Check whether we are traveling in the right direction, traveling to check where we have reached so far. But the ultimate destination is something that we need to understand, that the journey over here will be as exciting as the destination. Learning to learn, discovering your passion, living with that passion. And today's children, what they want autonomy in learning. They want learning to be self-paced, self-directed, independent, and maximum time they want active learning. So that is an utopian picture in front of me, how education can be effortless, discovering yourself, discovering how you can leave this world by keeping it or making it a little bit better than how you found it. That's all for me.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Dr. Swarup, sir, for sharing your vision with us. And last but not least, Alka Mom, could you please share with us your dream for Utopia? Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear. Totally second Dr. Swarup when we talk about the spirituality. And Alexandra ma'am, I think you have taken up all the points out here when we are talking about. And for me, when we talk about the vision, I'll second, first of all, what Sir said is, knowing yourself. And when you're talking about this pandemic, I think all of us, we've seen death right there, and which made, I think, me think twice as an educator. Is it that the science or Ohm's law or, the whatever subject we're teaching, what the students are taking up as subjective, is it important? Or survival, looking at the breakdowns, making a child believe that bigger the breakdown, bigger would be the breakthrough. The life skills which are much more critical. How do we take life? Are we happy, fully self-expressed, and connected to oneself inside? Do we really connect to the soul inside us? I think all of them together. All of us, we have survived, I think, because of not that, for example, sir, he's done his PhD, he's a medical doctor. For example, me, I have excelled somewhere. All of us, it's not about that. I think today when we have survived, it's just because of our life skills. How we take the fear. We always say, in Hindi, there's a word, dar ke aage jeet hai. That is, after every fear, there is a win, there's a success over there. Is this what we should be teaching our students? Yes. And taking one more point from the conversation from my colleagues is, the fifth industrial revolution is right there. Preparing our students for adaptability. It's nowhere now about the grades or the marks or nothing. First is, how are we dealing with life? How are we connecting with self and the universe? every time when the child is there in the class, the first class school, the first thing what the child should be doing is that close your eyes and just see this light, the energy out here. Connect. You're connecting to the universe. The universe is the biggest teacher, biggest educator. Start from there. The second is, the skills which are required for the child to be absolutely adaptable out there for the fifth education revolution, industrial revolution. So that's my vision when we talk about the Ethiopian education system. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Alka Mom, for sharing your vision with us. I think that on this positive note, we could end the session for today. I would like to personally thank you for your time to be here with us, for sharing your wonderful experiences and best practices. This has been extremely enlightening for me, and I hope that you have learned something new today, or if not, you feel connected with your colleagues, no matter where they are in the world. So again, thank you for your time and interest in the session. Daksh, I would kindly ask you to stop the